The shooting range. In this episode, the screeching rhapsody, the music of the BN-13N Katyusha, how to build aircraft like a true gentleman, Sir Sydney Camm and his excellent Hawker Hunter, Hotline, the developer answer questions that you left in the comments. But first, let's start with You Have Asked, We Deliver, a little guide to AA vehicles. Self-propelled anti-aircraft guns truly are a special bunch. They're something that you describe as a niche vehicles, and very vulnerable. Yet, many tankers still choose to drive them into battle. What's the catch, and how do you play them? It makes sense to divide this class of vehicles into two distinct types, the aggressive AA guns and the defensive AA guns. A good example of the first type is the ZSU-37 or the ZSU-57. One of the main machines that fall into the second category is, for instance, the Crusader Aaa. The aggressive self-propelled anti-aircraft guns need to have a high volume of fire, good penetration, and excellent mobility. You'll have to change your position very often. Your main task is to destroy the external modules of enemy tanks. Those barrels and tracks need to go. Only if a good opportunity presents itself should you go for an attack at the main modules through the side. Basically, you're helping the big guys that can reliably secure the elimination. At the same time, you have to take care of securing the points and be ready to provide anti-air support. The defensive line of AA guns consists of the vehicles that are ill-suited for anti-tank warfare, but are good at shooting down enemy aircraft. You do well to keep your distance, making most of your range advantage. Prioritize engaging bombers and heavy attackers. If you have time for it, watch out for all the sneaky buggers that might try to engage your team from unconventional avenues of approach. The main question is, of course, how to get XP while driving an AA gun. After all, you will not be getting good anti-tank ammo until later in the game. The answer is simple: be patient and do most of your farming in arcade. In this game mode, the players are not stingy with air support, so getting a dozen aircraft frags in one match is not unheard of. And when you get enough eliminations, plunge into the sky yourself and make your score even bigger. Just make sure to avoid all hot zones like cap points. Thanks to the helpful green marker, you'll make for a very easy prey. Hardly ideal when you're driving a lightly armored SBAAG, you know. Remember, AA guns are for team players. Do not stray too far away from your teammates. You help them, they help you. That's how it works. While you do have a great range and can often successfully engage aircraft at 1,000 meters or more, you should conserve ammo and let the enemy come close first. Not to mention that this way, you won't give them much room to escape. And the most important thing, be patient. We said it before, right? AA guns aren't easy to play, but a capable anti-aircraft specialist is a boon to any team, both in random and squadron battles. Kept you waiting, huh? Now that legendary Katyusha is finally in the game, we cannot resist talking about it. They called it Stalin's organ, the Fearsome Katusha. These vehicles were a living nightmare for the soldiers of the Third Reich. Even today, this multiple rocket launcher never fails to deliver. One could think, what's so impressive about it? How can 16 rockets change the flow of a battle, even given the fact that each of them has 5 kilos of explosives inside? Elevation angles aren't that great and there's no armor, not to mention that it only has 2 crew members. There is simply no use for such a vehicle in, say, urban environments. Well, that's all true, but there's a twist. Katyusha drivers don't give a damn about all these facts, at all. When you're driving this beast, all you need to do is reach a strategic point, find a good firing spot, and there you are, all set to lay waste to the entire map. One direct hit from a Katyusha rocket would almost certainly break the external modules like the tracks or the barrel. If you manage to hit the tank from the side, those rockets can easily blow up the enemy's ammo rack. At the same time, the Katyusha is quite fast and maneuverable, so you will never run out of options. One of the more effective ways of using it is to find a comfortable position somewhere near a crucial point of the map and then just aim in the direction of the approaching enemy. Of course, the spike might be well covered and ideally give you a better angle. But beggars can be choosers, huh? Any spot on the ground that's covered with thick bushes or trees, even a flat one, will do in a pinch. You see, the Katyusha suspension is capable of going to the so-called dug-in position. Here, look, just don't forget to set up a key for this feature in the controls. When you're in position, fire one rocket. See where it goes and adjust your aim accordingly. Don't forget, the Katyusha doesn't have any special setting UI, so you have to use the old-fashioned way, by the eye that is. A tip: things get simpler if you always keep in mind that a rocket that is launched from a horizontal launch position covers a distance of at least 350 to 400 meters. After you get those preparations done, you're basically ready. Just wait for the enemy to rush in and let the stallion's organ play its music. Ah, such beauty. Oh, and don't forget to return to the base after you run out of ammo. This vehicle is fast enough to allow for several runs, reload, and then get back into action. Just remember that at the end of the day, Katyusha is basically a souvenir vehicle. Do not expect it to set records or live through every match. And yeah, don't even think about using it in arcade battles. Oh no. But if you want to do something unusual, try something special, that's a great vehicle for the job. Take it and rush into the battlefield like an angry god of war, destroying everything and everyone who dares to stand in your way. That's it, until you meet the first enemy anti-aircraft gun. Have fun! Next up is the story of a great British aircraft that managed to impress the world, dominated by MiG-15s and F-86 Sabres. Sir Sydney Camm was a true gentleman. He did not approve of any unnecessary rushing. He was always very thorough, making sure that this or that design choice was the best one before implementing it, and then getting it to work in the most efficient way possible. In the era of piston engine fighters, this approach proved successful, to put it mildly. His firstborn in that field was the Hurricane. It didn't boast the best performance in the field, but the aircraft was easy to build, reliable, robust, and could easily be modified. Further development of the Hurricane design gave us a series of bad weather fighters, the Typhoon, the Tempest, and the Sea Fury. And those three became the fastest serial piston-engine fighters in history, by the way. After the war, the aviation industry started to mess with jet engines, and the approach of Sir Sydney Camm proved successful yet again. This time, he created the Seahawk. You'd be right to think. It was 1947 already, what's so special about it? A design with one engine, exhaust embedded in the trailing edge of the wing root, a tailpipe which emerged beneath the tailplane. Nothing out of ordinary, right? Well, yes. The Seahawk wasn't a very innovative craft, but once again, it was easy to build, easy to maintain, durable, and capable. A robust short-field fighter that could carry almost any type of weaponry. The Royal Air Force didn't need it though, they already had their Meteors and Vampires. But the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm loved it, and the Indian forces used it up until the early 1980s. Meanwhile, we're still in the late 1940s. Aircraft designers all over the world discovered swept wings. Then we got the MiG-15 and the F-86 Sabre, the two famous rivals that made all other jets with straight wings outdated in a blink of an eye. Sir Sydney Camm also wanted to create a fighter of this type. But as we said before, being a true gentleman, he did not approve of any unnecessary rushing. And so, in the fall of 1949 did he introduce the Hawker P-1052 prototype. It was basically a recalculated Seahawk with an interesting swept wing that didn't resemble both Soviet or American designs. Basically, it embodied Sir Camm's unique vision of what a swept wing should look like. Now, he only had to modify the tailplane so that it could sustain the increased speed of the new jet fighter. After another long year, Sir Camm showed the Hawker P-1072 prototype. This time, you could clearly see that a new type of fighter was being born, something different from the MiGs and the Sabres, but just as powerful, if not more. The 20mm British Hispano Mark V guns were replaced with powerful 30mm Aden cannons. The fuselage and the nose cone became longer. For a finishing touch, Sir Camm installed a brand new Rolls-Royce Avon jet engine with an actual compressor, giving the jet its signature elegant look. And that's how the new P-1067, also known as the Hunter, came to be. It was stunningly beautiful. The pilots of the Royal Air Force fell in love with it on the spot. Of course, there were some problems to solve, but eventually, the Hunter overcame its earlier American and Soviet rivals in every possible way. What can we say? The approach of Sir Sydney Camm proved successful once again. At the time, in the early 1950s, no one could possibly know that the Hunter would be licensed in Denmark and Switzerland. That for many decades, it would be an irreplaceable choice of the Black Arrow's aerobatic demonstration team, that its service life in India as an interceptor would only end with the arrival of the MiG-21, a jet fighter from a very different era. And finally, who could have guessed that the Hunter would still be used in the 21st century, not as an actual fighter, as a training aircraft of course, but still. Later, Sir Sydney Camm grew very fond of the idea of creating a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, but he was a true gentleman and did not approve of any unnecessary rushing. Now it's time for the traditional last part of our show, Hotline, developers answering questions from the comments. Strictly speaking, it's not the most serious-minded section of the show. If you want answers to be given with solemn faces, feel free to appeal to the official War Thunder forums. Here we'll have a more lighthearted discussion of the big questions of War Thunder. The first question comes from a user called KSZ Tyrex. We hope we got it right. Why only Tier 5? Many earlier tanks had smoke grenades, some even modeled in-game. Yeah, absolutely right, mate. Actually, a lot of earlier vehicles that didn't get their smokes with this patch will get them later, eventually. It's just a question of who gets what first now. We're only talking about the vehicles that had this equipment historically, of course. Then there's a message from a player called Snowy Toilet. Hey Gaijin, I have a question for you guys. Have you ever thought about adding a multinational tree for countries that did not have enough tanks or planes to make up an entire tree? Hey, it's certainly a possibility. What can we say? We'll keep you updated. Smash Culture of Marxism writes, will the Italian tanks automatically wave the white flag or have an automatic leave the vehicle function? Mate, we do get where this joke comes from, but come on. Italy has a long list of badass fighters. That is a fact. The last message comes from a user called Tankmaster. I like trains. Well, okay. We're happy for you, buddy. Keep up the good work. That's it for today, but feel free to write your questions in the comments below. We do read them all, and you might see some of them answered in the next episode. If you like what we're doing, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. See you on the shooting range.